Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to read some holiday books with you, or some early holiday books. I have quite a few on my TBR this season, and I wanted to go ahead and kick off the season with some cozy, like snowy, festive books. So in this vlog, I will be reading Christmas Crazy in July by Jenna Hendricks, and I believe this is her first rom-com book. This is about two characters, Millie and Corbin, and their experience of having a Christmas in July. So after COVID, I believe a celebrity says, hey, we should have Christmas in July. And Millie is all against it. Like, she just wants to have her normal summer. And Corbin loves Christmas anytime, is all about it. Next one is the Holiday Swap. This is probably the most festive Christmassy book on this list. This one is by Maggie Knox and is about twin sisters, Charlie and Cass, who each have incidences of their own. Charlie is on the set of a reality baking show, and she loses her ability to smell and taste. And then Cass, her twin, is having trouble running the family's bakery and dealing with the breakup that just won't end. They decide to do what they used to do as kids and swap places. But these two guys come to this story. You have rugged firefighter Jake and gorgeous physician assistant Miguel Rodriguez, and they're thrown into the mix. And it says, will the twins' identity swap be a recipe for disaster or for getting their lives back on track? The other one that I want to read in this reading vlog is A Season for Second Chances by Jenny Bayliss. I did read her debut, The 12 Dates of Christmas, last year and enjoyed it, so I'm hoping I enjoy this one too. This one is a bit chunkier. This is about our main character, Annie, who catches her husband cheating again, and she finally decides that she's leaving him for good this time, no more second chances, and she takes this position as a winter guardian to this house in the seaside town of Willow Bay. She leaves her restaurant behind. She leaves, you know, her husband, obviously, and then she has two sons that are like older, like in their 20s or something. So she leaves all that behind. She's on her own for the very first time in a very long time, and she's watching over this house, getting acquainted with the other people that live in this village. Here with a reading update. It has been a very long day, but I did manage to get a bunch of reading done. I started with A Season for Second Chances by Jenny Bayliss, and I'm so happy because this is a very like cozy pre-holiday book. It basically starts in the fall time, and I think it's going to lead up to Christmas, just like based on the synopsis. So at the very beginning of the novel, our main character Annie finds her husband. She catches him in the act, basically, in the restaurant that they co-own, by the way. She catches him with a waitress, and she leaves and goes to a hotel, and she's there for a few days, kind of trying to figure out what her next step is, because he's done this in the past. He's wooed her back, and she's trusted him again, and he's done it again. But I think that she doesn't love her husband. I mean, she doesn't love her husband, and she hasn't loved him in a very long time. But her children are grown. She's a chef at this restaurant, and she's kind of ready to leave it all behind and look for a new place to live. She comes across this advertisement for this winter guardianship at this house in the coastal town of Willow Bay. And she calls, she goes for an interview, and it's like this older lady, like 80s or 80 or 90 years old that says like, yeah, this is the first winter. I'm not going to stay put. I'm actually going away for the winter, but I need someone to stay here and take care of the place while I'm gone. And you can live here rent free. You just have to pay for utilities and stuff. And that's perfect for Annie because since she's leaving the restaurant, leaving her husband, she only has like her savings and stuff. So that's really cool. Well, she goes there and the town just seems like such a cozy, welcoming community. Her husband, of course, immediately starts trying to woo her back, but she's not falling for his antics. And she's meeting people in the community. She's learning the lay of the land there. And the really cool thing is that the owner of the house left behind this like manual that kind of leads her through from like October, November, December, and all of that, and all of the traditions and just kind of everything, the little quirks of the house and stuff like that. So I'm absolutely loving it. It is a like more slower paced book than I typically like, but things are moving along. There is a plot, things are happening, but also the characters are really cool too. Also, there's a book club. So I'm hoping to finish this one today. I made it to chapter 56 yesterday, page 264. And let me just say that like the traditions that this town has and the close-knit community of this small coastal town is the exact community I would love to live in. It's not focused on the romance or a possible romance. It's really just about this woman adjusting to being by herself and fulfilling her duties as the winter guardian and learning to be by herself. She's gone out on like a date, but they decided at the end of that to just be friends, and they literally are just friends. And like I said, I'm 260 some pages into this, so that is awesome. Love that. Love the slow build up, and I'm excited to finish it and let you know my full thoughts. I just finished A Season for Second Chances by Jenny Bayliss, and I can't tell you guys how much I loved this story. And it's so weird because the plot was there, like it definitely was pushing a plot ahead, but it wasn't as romance heavy as I thought it was going to be. If you like Float Plan by Trish Dollar, you would probably really like this too, because the romance kind of takes a backseat to what the female main character is dealing with in both of the stories. I fell in love with Willow Bay. I think that was my favorite part of the story, is how Annie was really like looking for a fresh start, and Willow Bay is what gave it to her. This position is what gave it to her. But I also appreciated how there was not the communication trope, the miscommunication trope. There was not a cut and dry, you know, unbelievability of like, okay, fine, I'm done with my husband. Like, she still had her weak moments where Max, her husband, was trying to like woo her back, saying, oh, I'll never do it again. And even though like we knew that she wasn't going back, and she kept saying like, I'm not going back, you're getting a divorce, you're unfreezing the accounts, you're giving me half of the, you're buying me out of the restaurant, you're doing this, that, and the other. He would break her down, and you would see those moments of weakness, and it just, that's how it really is. It's not so cut and dry all the time. There are those moments of weakness, and it just made it so believable. But then she has this like one guy that she does go out on a date with, and they do have sex, but it's not mind-blowing. And instead of like dragging it out or making it awkward, they're just like, yeah, we're better off as friends. This isn't really working. Like, he said it to her, she said it to him, and they were like, okay, cool. And it was like no big deal. And I was like, that is how it can be if you're adult about it, you know? And especially like if you're 44 freaking years old, like, you need to be an adult about it. You ain't got time to play no games. So I appreciated that. And then as far as the romance between her and John, which is the owner of the like building, the closed down business and the apartment, I guess, it's her nephew John that's kind of, he wants to, I don't want to like spoil it, but anyway, it's a romance between them, but the romance does not start in here until like around the 300 page mark. So you're reading all of this without romance until you get to this. And it's not hate to love per se, but I wouldn't say that they get off on the best start. So it has like light hate to love vibes, but just, she realizes that she's not looking for a relationship, and she's being very mature about it because it is the nephew of her landlord basically, and there's a lot going on with the building and historical society, and you know, her lease, I guess, even though it's not like a lease, is going to be over at the end of like Easter, so she's going to be moving on and stuff like that. So they're very mature about where they are each in their lives at this moment, and they're just coming at it in like such a mature way. He's giving her space, she's giving herself space to feel all the things she needs to feel, but also just like begin a new life for herself. I can't sing enough praises about this. I will say it did feel a little long, but because I was enjoying the town and the people so much and all of the traditions and just everything, like I loved it so much. I'm rating it 5 out of 5 stars. Just know going in, it's not like a quick rom-com. Is it romantic? Yes. Is it funny? Yes. What's so great is you really do come to know some of the residents of Willow Bay, and one in particular is just so freaking funny. I love her so much. And also, I was telling you, they form like this book club, and that's a part of it. I don't know, I loved this one, you guys. So if you're willing to take a chance on it, please take a chance on it. Just know going in, it's a little bit more slow paced. It's very descriptive. The romance is very slow to start. Like I said, it doesn't start until around the 300 page mark. But yeah, I think you'll absolutely love it. I did 5 stars, and I'm wondering if I'm just on that high of 5 stars, but it reminded me kind of so much of Float Plan about how the male and female protagonists were with each other. I kind of feel the same thing about these two, so 5 out of 5 stars. I read like like maybe 24 pages just to kind of get a sense of the writing. This one is indie published. So far it's okay. It does have its problems, but I will get into them more when I get into the novel. I just wanted to try it and see what I thought initially. This one is not that long. It's only 220 pages. Yeah, 220 pages. So under 250. It's going to be a very quick read. I am reading this physically. I'm currently on page 65. And you get two POVs in the story. You get Millie's POV, you get Corbin's POV. And Millie and Corbin knew each other growing up because their families were friends. So they knew each other since they were young. They grew up together. They went to high school together. And an incident happened when they were juniors in high school going into their senior year. And because of that incident, Millie said, "I never want to talk to you again, Corbin," even though she had like this massive crush on him. And now in the present, they are adults, and an incident ends up happening, and who's right there to witness it? Corbin. And so it's kind of dredging up all of these feelings because they haven't talked in all of that time. I have a few like initial thoughts about it. The writing is not my favorite. This is indie published, so I always feel really bad when things are indie published because indie published doesn't get like enough love as it is. And I don't think that this is a horrible story. It just feels like, and I've never read anything by this author before, but just from the writing, I bet you the author is like on the older side because a lot of the like lingo and language and references and stuff like that are on the older side. So I wrote down a couple of other things. The first being that Millie is plus size, although you can't tell from the cover, but she doesn't seem to be very body conscious or body positive about it. But that was just like a short little thing in the dress shop that she went to. And then we have Corbin, and he is expressing sometimes how his actions could be viewed as like sappy, or he could lose all of his masculine credibility because he likes certain things that could be viewed as feminine. And I thought we were kind of over that. I thought we had agreed that there's no such thing as, you know, a movie being masculine or feminine, or a color being masculine or feminine, and things like that. So that's how another reason why I can tell that the author is probably older. Other thing is just the term crazy being used, which I get for the title, like Christmas crazy, like the alliteration of the C in July. But just the way that they're using the term crazy. And I know like there is this long history with that word and that term and the connotation and the definition and all of that. And depending who you ask, you know, they can see it as different ways. That I mean, I know that the term is like Christmas obsessed in July because it's been COVID. Now they're out of COVID. Everybody's wanting to celebrate Christmas in July. Although I'm already this far into the book and that hasn't really come into play so much, other than there being these massive sales, kind of like a Black Friday situation where people are like pulling dresses and fighting each other for things and stuff like that. Don't like how it is used, and I don't think it would bother me if it wasn't used so much. I have a combination of good news, bad news for you. The good news is that I finished Christmas Crazy in July by Jenna Hendricks. The bad news is this book is a major pass, and I would highly recommend you skip this one unless you are looking for a poorly written, Christian-based, non-Christmas rom-com. There was no actual Christmas spirit in this book. So even though it's supposed to be this outlandish, like citywide celebration of Christmas in July, there was no celebrating Christmas in July. It was mainly about these two characters getting together. The only thing that Christmas did was at the very beginning, Millie went to a sale to get a dress for a pool party that her parents were having, and she ends up getting into this incident, and then we learn how many incidents that Millie has been in over the course of her life, and woe is her. But the incidents that they blow out of proportion are literally no big deal. She face planted in the mud. Big deal. Who cares? You know, like, literally, why is this on the news, on television? No idea. The cringy Christmas themed punchlines were just that. They were cringy, like, oh, figgy pudding, oh, drummer boy, and they were used several times. And the last thing that I will say is about halfway through, and it's already a short book, like I said, like 220 pages. About halfway through, it took this weird Christian route that I did not see coming. I'm not familiar with the author. I'm not familiar with her previous works or anything like that. And I'm a Christian myself, but it was so in your face, and it's kind of like politics. I don't care if the book is saying exactly my my political viewpoints or not. I just don't want to read about it in my fiction stories. Just like this, I didn't want to read about it in my fiction stories, this Christian side of things, and how God says this and God says that. They were literally quoting verses from the Bible, and they were talking about like positive and negative thoughts and how God wouldn't want you to do this, and you know, be down on yourself. If God loves me for who I am, then I should love my, like, I was just like, no. But then not only was it like heavily Christian based towards the end, but then they would call people sluts and be bashing women. Well, Millie would be bashing other women. I did not like that at all. The good side of it being like a Christian romance story is there's no sex, there's no, you know, anything like that. But this was terrible. I would not recommend it. I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars, and I would just completely stay away from this one. I really wanted the Christmas in July feels. I did not get the Christmas in July feels. Check-in. I did read some yesterday, but I didn't really have time to update you guys. Yesterday was another really long day, but I am already really enjoying this story. I am kind of taking it more slow paced just because I am reading it physically, which is a nice change up from October when I was listening to a ton of audiobooks. But this one is about 2 twin sisters that are just kind of struggling in their own lives, and for reasons they swap lives, and now they're trying to adjust to being their twin sister. and there's these guys that come into the picture and they're attracted to that person, and it's like they're trying to fight it, but it's probably not gonna happen. Also, if you didn't know, Maggie Knox is actually the pen name of 2 authors. I know that's like Liv Constantine, Christina Lauren. There's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head, but there are author duos, you guys. So let's see, this is a pen name for a writing duo, Karma Brown and Marissa Stapley. So this is them. So this is the first time they're writing together as Maggie Knox, I believe. And I'm definitely going to look up more books by each of those authors, because in the beginning it did share like some books by each of the authors, so I definitely want to look into that. But one thing that I really do like about this is that it's set in 2 locations. So you have one of the twins in Los Angeles and you have the other twin in their hometown. It's like this mountainous, quaint mountain hometown, and it's called Starlight Peak or something like that, and it just seems like such a cute little town. How they're describing it, it's like totally described, you can totally picture it in your mind, but it's not like overly written or super flowery. It's just like you get this cute Hallmark, you know, movie town that everybody puts up lights, and there's snow, and I don't know, it's just like all of the wintry descriptions that you would like, but also the balance of the other twin being in LA on the set of this show called Sweet and Salty. And it's basically Charlie and this other guy who knew each other from culinary school. And now that that show's ending, there's going to be another show, and Charlie is vying for the spot of the host of that show. So she no longer has to like co-host with anybody, and she can just kind of do her own thing. But it's kind of like her arch nemesis at the same time, but that's not who she's going to end up with. So don't worry, it's not like a hate to love or whatever like that. Like, he's a true douchebag. Also, at the very beginning, Charlie gets a concussion. She loses her sense of smell and taste, and that's obviously a big problem doing a television show. They're working on a 12 Days of Christmas thing with contestants. They like make recipes, and then they make the contestants like try them out. But of course, without smell and taste, that's why she calls her sister Cass. And she's like, Cass, I can't do this. You have to come rescue me, because they both know how to bake. I finished the holiday swap last night and I really enjoyed it. I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. If I was to like round up or round down, I would round up to 4 stars, because I thought the 2 holiday romances were really cute. It was really wholesome. There was like no smutty sex scenes or anything like that. It's about these 2 twin sisters that swap places because they're each struggling in their own life, and they think by the swap they'll get a break from their life but also be able to help out their sister. I really liked it. I liked both romances. The only problem that I had with it is at the end it did drag a little bit, and there were some miscommunication things. Also, I mean, they were lying to the person that they were catching feelings for and falling in love with, because they thought that they were like the opposite people. And it wasn't until, you know, much later in the novel that they actually reveal who they really are. And I wish there would have been a little conversation about how they reconciled that, and did finally end up together. The ending was really cute, but it did drag, you know, a tad. I kind of just wanted it to be done once we got to a certain point. But I definitely recommend this for a wholesome holiday romance story. It's not like blow you out of the water wonderful. I wish it did have more like festive Christmas vibes, but there's lots of cooking and stuff like that. I wish they would have included some of the recipes. I think that would have been really cool. But yes, highly recommend this one. Now just to wrap up my thoughts and feelings about all of them. I started off with A Season for Second Chances, and this one ended up being my favorite of the 3 that I read. I rated this 5 stars. I highly recommend it if you don't mind a little bit slower paced, a little bit more descriptive, but not like overly descriptive. Like, it was just the perfect amount, and I really want to move to Willow Bay. I really liked all of the characters. These felt like real people in a real town in real situations, and it wasn't so focused on the romance. It was much more focused on Annie finding herself after the end of a 26-year marriage and quitting her job and leaving the city and moving to this town. And I just thought it was great. But if you're looking for the romance, it doesn't happen until like much later in the novel, but 5 out of 5 stars for this one. And then next up, I read Christmas Crazy in July by Jenna Hendricks, which, guys, this one, I decided to bump it down to 1 star because as I went to write my review on like Goodreads and the Story Graph, I just couldn't find anything redeeming about it at all. The romance wasn't really that cute. I don't understand why it took them 14 years not to talk in the first place. The misogynistic references, the fatphobic references, the crazy term being overused, improperly used, and it just felt dated and old and bland. So 1 star for this one. Highly recommend you skipping it. And plus, like, don't go ahead and like talk about God and put verses from the Bible in there and then call people sluts. Like, that, I'm not okay with that. And I just don't like reading about that much religious based stuff in my fiction. And then I finished up with Holiday Swap, which you just heard me talk about it. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend this one. So I had 2 wins and 1 loss, but I have plenty more holiday books coming this season. This was just the start of it. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a lovely day or night, and I'll see you guys again in another video very soon. Bye guys.